This is my 7th video. It's the longest I've stuck to something in a while. So can a person with an average income actually become a millionaire? And if so, how long is it going to take? So this is a cool topic, especially to me personally, because when I first started watching financial videos a few years ago, I realized that almost everybody making financial videos were focusing almost entirely on the high earners instead of low income or medium income people. And don't get me wrong, it's a lot more interesting to talk about the high earners, right? Because you're talking about thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars or maybe even millions of dollars. So it seems more exciting when we watch these videos about super well-off people. But I think we're really leaving out a big group of people if we ignore the low income and average income people. I mean, that's a lot of the population. So the topic of this video is how the average person with an average income can become a millionaire and roughly how long that should take. So let's break it down into 3 short steps so that it's easy to follow along with. And those 3 steps are this. When are you actually considered a millionaire? What's the best way for average earners to become millionaires? And approximately how long should it take to get there? So number 1 first, what actually is a millionaire? So a millionaire is simply someone who has a net worth over $1 million. Sounds pretty simple, right? Meaning the total amount of assets that a person owes minus the total amount of liabilities, or you could call it debt, that a person owes is equal to your net worth. And once that net worth passes $1 million, you are officially considered a millionaire. 2 things worth noting for this video. The average income in the United States is roughly $59,000 per year. I forgot what I was going to say. And the average age for becoming a millionaire is roughly 49 years old. So I mentioned both of these figures so that you guys watching this video can have sort of a general foundation to compare to. So you can have something to visualize when I use the word average in this video. So what actually is the best way for somebody with an average income to become a millionaire? Well, there's really 2 answers to this question. The first being the most common way, and the second is my personal opinion on what I think is the most likely to work, especially over the long term. So the most common way that people with an average or slightly below average income become millionaires at some point in their life is through sort of a trifecta of 3 things. Buying a house young, contributing a healthy amount of your paycheck to a 401k, and then inheritance. So yes, most people who do become millionaires with an average or slightly below average income are going to have some sort of inheritance at some point. But I'm not really going to focus anymore on inheritance in this video because you get what you get, and that's really all there is to it. So looking at the other 2 variables, which are buying a house young and then contributing a healthy amount of your paycheck to a 401k. We mentioned having a net worth over $1 million being the defining trait of what a millionaire is. So a house is almost always going to be one of the biggest pieces of that pie, if not the biggest piece, when it comes to having a net worth over $1 million. So if you have a $400,000 house and you manage to pay off the mortgage, that house alone will contribute $400,000 to your net worth. So then this person in our example here would already virtually be halfway to $1 million with just having that $400,000 house paid off. So you can get pretty close to being a millionaire without doing any kind of complex investing or making a big financial plan, just by having a house and paying down the mortgage. So the takeaway of your house in terms of net worth is this. The amount of money that you've paid towards your mortgage minus the amount that you still owe on the mortgage is your net worth. So if you have a $400,000 house and you have $100,000 remaining on your mortgage, then $300,000 of that mortgage is going towards your net worth. So in this example, $300,000 would be contributing to your net worth. So because most people with an average income or below average income tend not to have a ton of money saved up, the earlier you buy your house, the more time you have to actually contribute towards your net worth. For example, if you buy a $300,000 house when you're 25, you'll have significantly more money paid towards your mortgage and therefore your net worth than somebody who buys that exact same house at age 35. So we've got housing and inheritance covered so far. The 3rd component of how average people become millionaires is through long-term investing, which is usually done through a 401k. So a lot of you are already probably familiar with what a 401k is, so I'll skip over the explanation part, but I will post a much more in-depth beginner's guide to what a 401k is and how to use one in the next couple weeks or so. So chances are, depending on when you're watching this video, just check the description and it's probably already going to be there. Hello, viewers from the future. Anyway, 401ks are just long-term investment accounts. Here's what it would look like if you just invested $200 per month from age 20 to age 60. So you can see if you invest $200 a month into a 401k, with an average of a 9% return over those 40 years from age 20 to age 60, you would have around $850,000 in that 401k account, and only $96,000 would actually be your own money that you had to work for and put in. The rest of it's all through compounded interest, and you didn't have to put any of that money in at all. So let's say you and your spouse both make $40,000 a year, so $80,000 total. If you were able to squeeze out $2,000 a month into a 401k or a similar investment account, that same 40-year period would return you about $8.5 million instead of $850,000. And like in the last example, in this case, only $960,000 of that $8.5 million would actually be your own money that you put into the account. So this is the real power behind investing consistently over a long period of time. Compound interest always wins. It's always going to outpace inflation. And just putting in a couple $1,000s a month can lead to millions and millions of dollars as long as you're willing to stick it out for a long time. So you can see if you're able to contribute, say, $1,000 a month or more, you're going to be pretty wealthy at the end of that 40-year period, even if you only had a low-paying job. But there's one massive problem to this plan, and that's why I added a third part to this video, which is dramatically reducing your spending. Don't get me wrong, it's possible to do all those things that we've talked about, like buying an appreciating house at a young age and consistently investing as much money as you can every month. But the thing that these lists always seem to leave out is your spending habits. If you spend all of your money every single paycheck, you're never going to pull this off. It's a harsh reality, but it's a reality nonetheless. If you're going to be rich with a low income, you have to spend less money. Here's how you do that. First and foremost, if you're still young and you don't have any children, don't have any children until you're well established. Kids are expensive. They can cost like $30,000 a year, and if you're already living with a pretty limited budget, that extra $30,000 is going to be pretty tough to come up with. And you can absolutely guarantee that you're not going to be retiring young if you have kids and a low income. Next big one. So the next two are the ones that we're probably all kind of guilty of, and that is either buying a car that you really shouldn't buy or going out to eat all the time. Both of these habits are obviously going to take a ton of your money away, and you're not going to be able to save money if you're driving an expensive car and going out to eat all the time on an already low budget, especially if you're making like $40,000 a year. You can't become a millionaire even if you have a really high income if you're spending all your money every month. So try to come up with and make a monthly budget that you can actually stick to. Assuming you're able to exercise some self-control and reduce your expenses and also buy a house at a reasonably young age and contribute some money every month to a 401k or some other investment account, how long should this whole becoming a millionaire thing actually take? Obviously the answer to this question is it depends, but I'm not going to make a whole video on this topic just to give you a boring answer like that. So I did some math on what I think is both doable and reasonable on a $50,000 income. The answer is it should take around 25 years. So if you can either figure out ways to increase your income more or reduce your spending, maybe by renting out your house, for example, you could obviously do this a bit faster than 25 years, but just crunching the numbers, this is kind of generally about what it should take, and I'll show you why. Let's say you buy a house at 25 and invest $1,000 a month into a 401k for 25 years. You'll have about $800,000 in your investment account and more than $200,000 worth of equity built up in that house that you bought back at 25. So the average earner, if they make smart decisions, should be able to become a millionaire somewhere between the ages of 45 and 50 if they follow this whole path the whole time. So again, pretty extreme commitment required here. So obviously this is oversimplified. I mean, this is not going to apply across the board to everybody with a $50,000 income, but if you're able to set aside about $1,000 a month for investing and you're able to get a house young enough at say 25 or so, and again, I fully understand that it's difficult to get a $300,000 house when you have a low income, but that's kind of where the creativity part has to come. And again, I don't want this video to be some highly technical master's degree in finance. There's much better resources to that kind of information than me, but I do think where I fit into the mix here is that I can help people sort of understand really basic finance at a basic and general level, kind of like what they should have taught in high school, but didn't. At least not in my high school. I know a lot of people don't get any sense of formal education in finance, and that's completely fine. You really genuinely do not need any crazy education at all, especially not a degree that you pay for. That's the great thing about having YouTube and the internet. You can learn pretty much all the things that you need to know about finance on a general basic level just from watching crappy videos like this. But anyway, that's what this channel's for. So hopefully you found some video in this value. Definitely subscribe if you feel like you want to, because look at the subscriber numbers. I don't have any. Also, if you feel like I left stuff out or I explained something in a confusing way, let me know down in the comments because I really appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, all feedback welcome. Leave me a comment. I'd be happy to respond. I really do have a lot of fun making these. So anyway, I appreciate you watching this. Hope you had a good time. Click on another video or subscribe.